What is up, YouTube? It is your boy NMR Sports here, coming back at you with another MLB video. And today we're going to be talking about the top starting pitching free agents. Where are they going to go? All my predictions of where they're going to land. I promise I won't pick everybody to the Angels, although it might seem like that. There are a lot of teams that need a lot of starting pitching this offseason. The Blue Jays are probably looking for some. The Dodgers might be in on a few starting pitchers. Obviously, my Angels, the Tigers are looking for some. The Yankees might be, Phillies. All sorts of different teams are going to be looking for starting pitching, and a lot of teams are going to be looking for relief pitching. So we're going to go over some of the top free agents. We're not going to do every single one of them. I'm not going to tell you where Danny Winkler's going to go, but I will be talking about the top starting pitching and relief pitching free agents. So before we get into the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button for some more daily MLB content, and then hit that like button as well. Help the YouTube algorithm. Let's get this video to as many people as possible, and let's have a conversation about it down in the comments. We were having some good conversations about the offensive free agents that I linked yesterday. The link will be up here on the screen if you want to watch that one first. Where I was talking about all the offensive free agents. But let's get into the video. Let's start talking about the starting pitchers and relief pitchers. All right, we're going to go ahead and start off with the top starting pitching free agent, in my opinion, that is the most sought after, at least. And that's going to be Max Scherzer. Now, when we talk about Max Scherzer, obviously he's on the Dodgers right now, or he was on the Dodgers to end last year. And the Dodgers have two elite starting pitchers that they want to retain this year, and that would, of course, be Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw. Now, the way I see these two guys, one of them I think is going to the Angels. The other I think is going to the Dodgers. The Angels have no spending limit, neither do the Dodgers. Both of these teams are going to be fighting for both of these pitchers. I assume Clayton Kershaw stays with the Dodgers because can you imagine Clayton Kershaw in another uniform? I personally cannot. So that's why I think the Angels are Max Scherzer is going to go to the Los Angeles Angels while Kershaw stays with the Dodgers. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see if the Dodgers make a play for both of them, or if they make a play to retain Bauer or not. It's going to be a very interesting situation over there in Los Angeles, but I do think that the Angels are going to spend big this offseason and go and try to get Max Scherzer. I think it's going to be a ridiculous overpay, because if you're battling the Dodgers with money, you know you're going to be paying a lot. So we're going to go with Max Scherzer to the Angels and Clayton Kershaw to the Dodgers. Now, after that, we got Kevin Gausman, and I think Kevin Gausman is actually a really good fit for the Seattle Mariners. Now, obviously, Kevin Gausman could go back to the San Francisco Giants, but I do think the Mariners are going to be making some moves this offseason, trying to get some big free agents. They are nowhere near the luxury tax threshold, and they've got a lot of young talent on that team, but Kevin Gausman's a nice veteran who was really good last year. He was in the Cy Young conversation for sure last year, and yeah, I just think he'd be a very good fit for this Mariners team. Get a nice veteran presence for a lot of the young talent they have. Now, we also have Carlos Rodon, who I see returning to the White Sox. I really don't see where else he would fit in. Obviously, a lot of teams are going to be wanting Carlos Rodon. Maybe he could fit in with the Blue Jays as well. But overall, I think he's a very good fit to go back to the White Sox. He might take a little hometown discount just because he's been with the White Sox his whole career, and they're the team that gave him a shot last offseason when he was a free agent, and I'm pretty sure that's the only team that really offered him anything of value. Next, we have Eduardo Rodriguez, and I see Eduardo Rodriguez is a very good fit for the Blue Jays. A very similar pitcher to Carlos Rodon, in my opinion. And honestly, the underlying metrics say that Eduardo Rodriguez could be an elite starting pitcher. He just had some pretty bad luck this year. He was also returning from injury, and a lot of people didn't know if he was going to be fully healthy this year. So I think Eduardo Rodriguez would be a good fit at the top of that Blue Jays rotation. Obviously, they lost Robbie Ray so far. They could, of course, retain him if they want to, but I think they're going to go a little bit cheaper. They're going to go for more, solid quality, but a larger quantity. This year they had Robbie Ray, who was elite, and then, of course, they have that, Alek Manoah was pretty good as well, but they slowly kind of dwindled in quality towards the end of their rotation and bullpen. But the top end was really good. I think Eduardo Rodriguez is a good quality guy to have in that, 3 or 4 spot, as opposed to going out and getting an ace like Max Scherzer. Next, we have Robbie Ray, who I see actually going to the New York Yankees. Imagine Garrett Cole and Robbie Ray on the same team, bro. That just seems like something that the Yankees would do. They are definitely going to be spending a lot of money this offseason since they renewed their luxury tax threshold status. If you guys don't know how the luxury tax works, basically if you go over it, If you go over it 1 year, the next year it, like, I think it doubles. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that the tax keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger the more years you are over it. So the Yankees were under it last year, which means this year it's reset so they can pass the luxury tax threshold, and it'll basically be the minimum luxury tax that they can pay. So I see the Yankees going out and spending big this offseason. We already talked about them possibly getting Correa or Corey Seager. But I think Robbie Ray is another guy they might add to their rotation, because their rotation was pretty shallow last year, and it was full of guys who kept getting hurt. Robbie Ray is a pretty solid guy who definitely eats a lot of innings at the very least, so I think he's a good fit for the Yankees. I have Zach Greinke going to the Phillies. Now, the Phillies have a very good top of their rotation, but the bottom of it's kind of lacking, and I think Greinke would offer some good veteran presence there. Obviously, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler have been around for a little bit, but I think Zach Greinke would be a pretty good fit for them. I know he wants to go to a National League club, so I don't really see him signing with the Angels or the Blue Jays or the Mariners, anything like that, because he wants to get some hitting in and he wants to run the bases. I think he said his goal was 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases by the end of his career. I think he's at like 9 for both of them, so... but it's also going to be interesting to see, because I do think the National League's going to be having the DH next year, so we'll have to see. But Zach Greinke to the Phillies makes a lot of sense for me. It also just feels like a lot of players go to the Phillies to retire. You got Pedro Martinez, Roy Halladay, a lot of guys, I don't know, just feels like a retirement home. So Zach Greinke to the Phillies. Now, Marcus Stroman also to the Blue Jays. I talked about how I don't think the Blue Jays are going to spend big on top-end elite starting pitching. Marcus Stroman and Eduardo Rodriguez are two guys that I really think could be useful to the Blue Jays team, because imagine that rotation with Manoah, Stroman, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Jose Barrios. That's a pretty good top four. Nobody's elite, so they might be looking for one ace. I do think Marcus Stroman's a very good pitcher, don't get me wrong, but he's not really the guy you want going out into game one of a if you want him in a wild card game, things like that. So overall, I do think Stroman and Rodriguez are a very good fit for the Blue Jays, but we'll see. They might add a top starting pitcher as well. Next, we got Alex Cobb, who I see returning back to the Angels. Alex Cobb's been pretty vocal about how he liked his time in Anaheim, and he's a very good influence on some of the younger pitchers that the Angels have. If you guys haven't paid a lot of attention to my Angels lately, we have a lot of young starting pitching. Patrick Sandoval looked really good last year before he got injured. Our bullpen is full of young studs, guys like... we got Packy Naughton, who's pretty good against left-handed hitting. Jansen Junk was pretty good last year. Jose Suarez was pretty good last year. Jaime Barria was pretty decent. Who is that guy? We had Austin Warren. Austin Warren's one of my favorite relief pitchers I've ever seen on the Angels. So, I think Cobb is a very good influence, and I think he's going to be come back to the Angels, hopefully on a little discount. Next, we got Anthony DeSclafani. I don't know who the Giants are going to retain this offseason. I think Kevin Gossman's going to have a pretty high price tag, but I do think Anthony DeSclafani is a guy who's going to return back to the Giants. He had a lot of success with them last season, and I don't really see anything changing with that. Next, we got John Gray, who I also have going to the Angels. We already have the Angels getting Max Scherzer, who, of course, is an elite starting pitcher at the top of their rotation. They have solid starting pitching in the middle with Shohei Ohtani, Patrick Sandoval, if they re-sign Alex Cobb, which I think they will. John Gray has been a guy who's always been rumored to go to the Angels, but the Angels would never pull the trigger on him for a trade. So now that he's a free agent, I think the Angels are going to go after him and sign him. He seems to be a guy that the front office likes a lot, so that's why I'm predicting him to the Angels. Now, Justin Verlander, I think this one's pretty easy. I do think he's going to return to the Tigers. It just makes the most sense to me. I think the Astros might make a play to keep him in Houston, but overall, I think Tigers would be a really good fit. There's a lot of good young starting pitching over there, and Justin Verlander would be a great influence on him. Next, we got Andrew Heaney, and I wasn't going to put Andrew Heaney on this list because he's so garbage, but I would like to mention if the Rays or the Brewers pick up Andrew Heaney, he has potential to turn into either a great reliever or a top-end starting pitcher. That's just something... He is the perfect candidate to become a stud with the Rays and the Brewers. The Rays and the Brewers are really good at developing pitching. We saw it this year with you have Hunter Strickland, who was elite for the Rays, got traded to the Angels, was awful, one of the worst relievers in baseball. I think he gave up more home runs than innings pitched. And then he goes to the Brewers and he's elite again. So, as you can see, the Rays and the Brewers have some of the best coaching staffs in baseball, and I really think Andrew Heaney would thrive there. Maybe he takes a league minimum salary to go over there. and get some things figured out. He seems like a guy that the Rays are going to sign. Yusei Kikuchi, I see him as a pretty good fit for the Cardinals. Apparently the Cardinals are losing Kwon Young Kim, which I honestly didn't know they were. So Yusei Kikuchi to the Cardinals. I think it feels kind of racist, if I'm being completely honest. But I don't know. I just see him as a pretty good fit over there. You obviously have Jack Flaherty, who's their ace over there. You have some solid middle of the rotation guys. But I think Yusei Kikuchi could be a solid maybe 2 or 3 in that rotation for him. Corey Kluber I have going over to the New York Mets. I don't really have a particularly good reason for this, but the Mets need some more pitching, and I don't think they're going to go out and get some elite pitching like Max Scherzer. Corey Kluber just seems like he fits that mold to eat, at the very least, eat a little bit of innings. Obviously, a lot of their guys are injury-prone with DeGrom and Carrasco's are injury-prone. All these guys that they have seem to be struggling with injuries, so I think Corey Kluber would be a pretty good fit for him. Next, we have James Paxton, who I think returns to the Mariners. He was supposed to play for the Mariners this year, but didn't because I think he had Tommy John surgery again, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was like rotator cuff or something. Anyways, James Paxton returning to the Mariners. Big Maple. Gotta love it. Next, we have Noah Syndergaard, who I would love to see on my Angels. But if I'm being realistic, I don't think he leaves New York. Him and DeGrom have such a good top of the rotation together when he's healthy. So I see Noah Syndergaard returning back to the Mets. Now that's going to do it for our starting pitchers, but let's get into our relief pitchers. Starting off with the best free agent relief pitcher available, who I swear to God, if he does not return to the Angels, I will be extremely upset. That is Raisel Iglesias. Raisel Iglesias was an absolute stud for the Angels last year. I think I have his WAR posted here. Put up 3.1 WAR as a reliever, almost a full point ahead of the next guy out here. Absolutely ridiculous. Raisel Iglesias, what a stud, bro. If the Angels do not re-sign this man, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm always frustrated with my Angels, but man, Raisel Iglesias, this is a perfect fit for the Angels. They need a closer. They need a solid guy at the end. They have a lot of young rookies that can get to Raisel Iglesias, but they need that solid closer. Now, if they don't sign Raisel Iglesias, I would love for them to go out and get this man, Kenley Jansen, but another guy I can't really see leaving the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to re-sign Kershaw, re-sign Jansen, and then we'll see who else they re-sign from this big free agent class leaving them. I think they let Corey Seager walk, but Jansen just seems like one of those guys who's going to be a Dodger for life, whether you like it or not. Next, we have Ryan Tepera. Ryan Tepera seems like a guy who's going to end up in that Yankee bullpen. Pretty solid reliever this year for the Cubs. Didn't do so great when he went over to the Chicago White Sox, but he seems like a guy, kind of like the Yankees signed Darren O'Day last offseason to bolster that back end of the bullpen, or the front end of the bullpen. I think Ryan Tepera fits in pretty well in New York. Colin McHugh, I don't see Colin McHugh having any success outside of the Rays or the Brewers. I really don't. I don't think he's a great pitcher. He put up an amazing season for the Rays, 1.8 WAR as a reliever. He's 35 years old. Maybe some team takes a flyer on him and thinks he's going to be as good as he was this year. But if any team has any sense in them, they're going to realize that if you're not the Rays or the Brewers, you're not going to get any success out of this guy. Let's be real. Next, I got Aaron Loup returning to the Mets. Aaron Loup had a lot of success last year. Another guy I would love to see on my Angels. But I think the Mets have the money to sign whoever they want. And Aaron Loup's one of those guys that definitely didn't contribute to them losing a lot of games last year. And I think those are the guys they want to build their team around. So they're going to let guys like Michael Conforto walk. Maybe they look to trading guys like Jeff McNeil. Guys who are just hurting them down the stretch. But Aaron Loup's one of those guys I see them bringing back in addition to a lot of big free agents and trades. Just to try to shake up the clubhouse a little bit this offseason. Next, I got Andrew Chafin going to the Astros. I just think this is a pretty good fit for them. They have a lot of solid righties in their bullpen, but they need a good lefty. They need a dependable left-handed pitcher, and I think Andrew Chafin offers that. I don't think he goes back to the A's. The A's don't pay people, so that's how it goes. Another good fit for Chafin would be the Los Angeles Dodgers, so definitely keep a lookout for that. But overall, I see him going to the Astros. I think the Astros are a pretty solid fit for him. Next, we have Mark Melancon to the Phillies. Mark Melancon's the kind of guy I could see in a lot of different situations, but he's been a dependable closer, it feels like, for 10 years. Like, whether or not you've noticed, he's just always good. I remember when he was good with the Pirates in like 2013, and then he was good with the Braves last year, and then he was good with the Padres last year. So the Phillies need that kind of dependable relief pitcher that they can count on, and I really think Mark Melancon's a really good fit for that bullpen. They really don't have any good dependable bullpen pitching outside of who was it? I think it was Ranger Suarez last year was really good for them. So I think Mark Melancon offers them that nice little security blanket, whether it's in the closer role or maybe a setup man or whatever. Next, we got Kendall Graveman returning to the Astros. I would also love to see him make a comeback in Seattle. That would be really cool. But I do think the Astros are going to re-sign him. He did very well for them down the stretch, and he was really good in the postseason as well. So Kendall Graveman to the Astros seems like a pretty safe bet. Next, we have Hector Neris. The Tigers are going to need a lot of bullpen help, in my opinion, so I think Hector Neris is as solid of a guy as they could get, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Hector Neris, but he's better than what they have. So I think Hector Neris could be a pretty solid fit for the Tigers. Any of these guys, any of these top free agent relievers would be really good in Detroit, especially if they're trying to build a winning ball club. But realistically, I see them going after guys like Hector Neris, trying to build a bullpen out of some scraps. Next, we have Brad Hand returning to Cleveland. I'm calling them the Guardians until they announce if they have a different name or not. We'll see. But Brad Hand, not a lot of success outside of Cleveland. I think it just makes sense for him to return to Cleveland. And actually, that's another ball club I didn't give enough credit to when I was talking about the Rays and the Brewers. The Cleveland Indians, Guardians, whatever you want to call them, definitely a very solid place for a pitcher to end up as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of those guys like Andrew Heaney end up in Cleveland as well. Next, we got Yimi Garcia going over to the Mariners. The Astros cannot retain everybody, so I do see Yimi Garcia becoming a Mariner, kind of like the Kendall Graveman idea. I think Yimi Garcia going over to the Mariners would be a pretty good fit for them, and give them a very solid bullpen to go along with their solid offensive free agents I expect them to sign. Next, we got Archie Bradley going over to the Toronto Blue Jays. Archie Bradley, pretty solid reliever. Nothing too special, but I think those are the kind of guys that the Blue Jays are missing. They have some solid back-end guys. Off the top of my head, Merriweather, I'm pretty sure was pretty good last year, Julian Merriweather. And I know they have another guy. Adam Simber was pretty good for them. That was a good trade acquisition. So I feel like they just need a few more guys, like dudes in the bullpen that are going to eat up some innings and pitch solid enough to get to guys like Julian Merriweather. And I think Archie Bradley fits that mold. Like I said, take all these reliever rankings with a grain of salt, because who knows where these relievers are going to go. It's an absolute crapshoot, let's be honest. Trevor Rosenthal, I see having a homecoming with the Cardinals. Of course, he used to pitch for the Cardinals, and he's been extremely injury-prone the last year. So hopefully he can get back on the horse and be nice and healthy. How old is he right now? Let's see. I think he's like I think he's younger than I thought. I think he was like 32. Did he pitch at all last year? I don't even know. Anyways, he's a pretty young guy. Yeah, I can't find him on here, but oh, there he is. 32 years old. So yeah, Trevor Rosenthal, 32 years old. It feels like he's been around for a while, but he really hasn't apparently. So Trevor Rosenthal back to the Cardinals makes a lot of sense for me. So put him over there. Next, we got Michael Lorenzen. And I think Mike Lorenzen's going to go over to my very own Los Angeles Angels. This seems like a guy who's always had a lot of potential, but has never been able to realize it. He's got a very good pitch mix, and he has some nasty pitches, but overall, I just think he hasn't had a lot of success with the Cincinnati Reds, and I think he's a pretty good fit to come over to the Los Angeles Angels. We're not going to rely on him to be our closer. We're not going to rely on him to be a starting pitcher. Just a guy who can eat up some innings, little more of a middle reliever kind of guy. Next, we got Jake Diekman, and realistically, I just see Jake Diekman being the exact same thing as Blake Treinen. You know, Blake Treinen was really good for the A's for a little bit, had a down year, came over to the Dodgers, and is elite again. Jake Diekman had an elite 2020, had a pretty down 2021, and now is going over to the Dodgers to be an elite, maybe not a closing pitcher, but an elite left-handed reliever out of the bullpen. It just seems like the exact same story. And the Dodgers love to stack up their relievers. So even though you may think the Dodgers have a pretty good bullpen, I still see them being very big players in the free agency market this offseason. Next, we got Corey Knebel, also going back to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pretty self-explanatory. I just don't think they want him to walk. He was pretty good for him this year. And a very good, I think they traded for him last year. So very good, solid pitcher. I think he goes back to Los Angeles. And next we have Darren O'Day. Now, Darren O'Day actually came up in the Angels system and, of course, left for the Orioles pretty early. But I think Darren O'Day does re-sign with the Angels. Obviously, he was with the Yankees last season. He had some injury issues, but overall pretty solid reliever. And the Angels, if you know anything about what they did last offseason, they love those funky arm angles, throwing from the side, throwing all over the place. And Darren O'Day is kind of like Alex Claudio if he was good and right-handed. So I think Darren O'Day, pretty solid relief pitching acquisition for the Angels. And the Angels have been very vocal that they are going to spend a lot of money on pitching this offseason. Darren O'Day may not be the cheapest option, but still a very good option for him nonetheless. All right, now that is going to do it for us here today. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Am I going to get 100% of them wrong? Who do you think is going where? Are the Angels going to spend money on pitching this offseason finally? Let me know down in the comments section. Let's have an argument about it. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching through this video. If you made it to the end of the video, drop a like, hit that sub button, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.